Good morning, everyone. My name is Mallory Cormier, and I am the founder of Save The Buns. Today, we will be diving into our mini-series called A Bun's Eye View, where we will talk to some people who had the opportunity to work with rabbits inside of a laboratory setting. Here with us today is Kelly. Welcome, Kelly.
Hello.
Hi
I'm
there.
Excited.
Yes, thanks for being here today. So I think we'll probably just dive into asking you questions. So to start off with, how long were you working in the lab animal field for? About?
So almost exactly 2 years.
Okay.
I stopped working almost on my 2-year anniversary.
Okay. And what did you initially think when you started the job? Like, what were your thoughts that were going in your head?
Well, I came from a vet tech emergency background. So my career was saving animals. So I was hesitant in the first place to get involved in lab work. My sister works in lab animals and she's always done that. And I was always against it. I didn't know that I could do it. I thought that I would have too hard of a time. And so I would say my first week there, I was shocked at some of the way that the animals were treated, since I was so used to preventative care and treatment and making sure they had the best. And so when the animals weren't treated that way, it was kind of like, why aren't we taking care of this valuable product for the company, right? Even if they look at it as a product, they weren't doing minimal stuff that could have been done for prevention or for treatment. And so I was disheartened starting, but I was told that it was normal and that this is why and how animals were treated in labs. And I thought that I would grow to understand why, and it would be explained to me why they weren't treating and why they couldn't do certain things. And that kind of never happened. There wasn't at least a good explanation of why we couldn't take better care of the animals.
Yeah, there's always like a line drawn in the sand of how much you could do. Yeah, I definitely resonate with that a lot. Thanks, Kelly. Mm-hmm. What are some things you learned about the rabbits while you were there? Because did you have experience working with them? You probably saw some in the ER,
yeah.
But
no. So yeah, well, I did anesthesia for rabbits. I was the one technician because rabbits have a really hard time under anesthesia. They're really either in or out. So you really have to be cautious of how much anesthesia, how much medicine. They're sensitive animals. So a lot of the techs wouldn't want to do the anesthesia on them. So that was my job. If any rabbit came in for a spay or neuter, that I was in charge of them, or if a rabbit came in for exam, because of handling them, they were a delicate. We treated them delicately because their backs and their bones can break if they get too stressed, heart attacks, such. So I've had a lot. Plus, I had rabbits growing up, but I never spent, I guess, as a kid, you kind of play with them and you forget, but you don't really bond with them. So I did look at them as an animal that was in a cage. Our rabbit was an outdoor rabbit. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who brought their animals in loved them and they take care of them. They're especially rabbits I saw. But one thing working there, I got to see that they have distinct personalities, each one. Some were very friendly, some were not so much. Some were excitable and some were docile, and every rabbit was different, and every rabbit had a different relationship with humans that worked there.
Oh, Kelly, to kind of segue onto that, did you ever want to adopt or take home any of the rabbits that you worked with? And if you did, was there a favorite bun?
Yes. Every day I wanted to take one home. They were so sweet, and I hated the euthanasia part. And so every time it came to that of any kind, I wanted to take that animal home, especially if I felt, and it was unnecessary, that the animal, there was no need for it. So I'm getting emotional.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, I had a special bond with a couple rabbits. and all of them were euthanized at some point, some for ridiculous reasons. And so it was very hard. And at some points I wouldn't, rename them or whatever. I stopped naming them. I just called them by the numbers that they had tattooed in their ears, so that I would kind of disassociate them with pets.
Yeah. Oh, Kelly. Okay. Yeah, I had a couple that were definitely funny little ones. You remember Rhino? I know that there was one in particular that you had a really strong bond with, but Rhino was a wild one. She would get out of her cage and charge you. Well, she charged me, but she was also really sweet.
She was, yeah, and there was Jumper.
Oh, Jumper.
She was one of my favorites towards the end, because she would jump carts, and she was feisty and she had spirit. And then I had 1069, I think was her numbers, and she was my sweet big lady. Yeah. And that was a sad day.
She was a good mama. Well, thanks for sharing that, Kelly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's part, we haven't talked about this for a little while, so it's probably bringing up a lot of feelings. So, when you left the job, how would you say your overall working experience was there after this conversation? Probably not very good.
It was rough. As you can remember, when we had the kit euthanasia days of like, we're gonna go to hell for this. Yeah. This is really wrong. And so it was hard.
Yeah.
I still think about what I did. I felt like it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. To be a part of that.
Yeah.
Do you think, leaving there was the right choice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And, the hard thing is when you're working in a facility, you feel like you're giving them the extra care, the extra love. So it's like, you don't want to leave because who's going to do that for them? And so, it's bittersweet. You're sad that you're not there to see them every day and give them the extra love or care that you want them to have, but it's better mentally for you, and you're doing what's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm so emotional.
No, it's okay.
It was hard. It was very hard.
Well, and also these are like, we're good friends and we've talked about it, but this is kind of like probably just bringing it all back,
Yes.
So, what are your views on animal testing as a whole? Do you think we should find animal alternative ways, or, what are your kind of overall thoughts, especially after being in this field for a little bit?
Well, I think that if there are alternative ways, that we should definitely use those. I am very appreciative that we have vaccines and medicine that we didn't have that keep us alive, that they needed it. But at this point where we're so advanced, I feel like, a friend of mine was working on the same medicine that we were working on, but they weren't using animals, and they were going to get the same result without using the animals. And so there are ways to not. And I think that companies should be adopting that rather than inhumane treatment of animals.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember you mentioning that to me when we were working there together, and I was like, what?
And it was costing the company, the investment up front, I think for them was greater, but then to keep the staff that we had, the housing for the animals, it ends up probably costing more than, because she used to work, one or two people making vast amounts of medicine versus how many people we needed to run the whole facility.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely wasteful. The food, the waste made from the animals, having to figure that all out is so big. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Good, fair answer. If you could use one word to describe your experience working in the lab animal field, what would you choose?
Numbing. It was numbing because you kind of just had to go through the motions of doing it and felt numb. until you could finally look back, and now you can say, I'm not so numb about it anymore.
Yeah.
You start to feel it.
Yeah. No, that's a really good word. I definitely, that occurred with me as well. And you saw that too coming in.
Yes.
Because Kelly and I worked together as vet techs, and when she came in, it was like I was a whole different other person. And I remember her being like,
why aren't you doing this? What about this? And you're like, no, this is the way it's done here. And I'd be like, but that's not the right way.
yeah. No, it's definitely, you go through a lot of, I don't know, changes in your personality. I think if you have that strong desire to help animals, it's definitely a very, really morally challenging job for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would want people to know about your experience? Anything you'd want to just share about that?
I guess I don't want to cry again. The biggest thing.
Sorry.
It's okay. I signed up for this. That these animals that they're using for whatever type of be medicine or testing or whatever they're using them for, they have feelings too. And working in what I worked in was like a farming situation with these mothers, we bred them and they had babies, and we would take the babies away and euthanize them. They were a waste product basically for this farming that we needed. And those moms felt that. And being a mom now, watching those rabbits attack the cage as you're taking their babies away, really hard to think about someone doing that to mine. And I think we need to treat animals with decency. They have feelings, they have emotional bonds with things, with their babies, their children, and they feel sadness, happiness, joy. And so that if this can be stopped, if this can be done a different way, it definitely should be, to save those animals, the suffering that I saw firsthand.
Yeah, no, amazing, Kelly. Kelly, thank you so much for opening up. I know this was probably really hard for you to do, but you are.
Sorry, I didn't think I was emotional. It has been 3 years now.
Yeah. Well, it's also like really diving into the things that affected you the most, and you don't realize how much you put down, and that used to upset me as well, because I never really thought, I just didn't really think rabbits could be, I don't know. I just learned so much about them. They are very special little creatures, and they did love their babies, and them digging at the cage and trying to find them. And it was horrible to see. So I appreciate you opening up, really. Oh, Kelly, you're amazing. Thank you so much for opening up with us today. I know this was a little melancholy, but honestly, this is what happens when you are working in the animal research fields. You can be affected in these ways. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this nonprofit, was to, really let people know that this is what happens behind closed doors. Some people get affected by it, some people don't. But as you can see, I mean, me and Kelly have both shared this. And so thank you so much for opening up, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me and letting me discuss this and talk about it. Sorry, I got really emotional. I wasn't expecting it.
No, it's all good. Sorry, I was laughing.
How hard it really was, and how it still affects me to this day. And I think you're doing a great job, and I hope that we get to save some buns.
Yeah, I think what would be great for you is to have one of the buns that we get to rescue, because I think it helped me kind of get over some things, having crumpet and chickpea. So I see a bun in your future.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for opening up with us today. You are amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, everybody.